This may or may not be a hot take, depending on the viewer, but my adventures with Superman is pretty great. I've admittedly not been much of a Superman guy, but this show really won me over, mainly for how much it wore its heart on its sleeve, especially with Lois and Clark's relationship. And Season 2 continues Season 1's attributes as well as some improvements, like the ongoing story and the villain are both way more compelling and do more for this season than Season 1 did. And need I forget to mention the addition of Kara. She was excellent, with an actually compelling twist on the character as this Winter Soldier type brainwashed villain turned redeemed hero, and I really liked her bond with both Jimmy and Clark. And getting back to Lois and Clark's relationship, they've honestly been one of my favorite romances in recent years. Their iterations made for such likable and fun characters that made for a really sweet romance. I like that we're getting that back on TV. One of my favorite episodes of the season actually had to be the second one, where they both go on the prison escape heist. Dude, the elevator shaft scene is amazing. It had such a hold on me for a while. But I also loved how they were able to write the drama and not have it feel annoyingly forced, and tie into both their journeys in the season of them both worrying about being abandoned, and how they overcome them. Lois especially going above and beyond in making things right with Clark after their last talk before he got captured, and giving him the strength he needs, not for his powers, but for his heart. I honestly want to make an entire video just about these two. I'm really glad this show exists, and I'm excited for it to keep impressing me in the future.
7.
I can explain.
So, I already mentioned Battle for Dream Island at the start. I followed that ever since I was 9. I got hooked on it fast, and you had to be there in 2023 when its second season came back. And naturally, shortly after I got into that, I discovered a similar animated reality show with talking objects called Inanimate Insanity. It was the first episode of Season 2 that was my introduction, and once I caught myself all up with that show, that was when I waited for Season 2 Episode 3 to release, and the rest is history. I owe this show a lot. It was an absolute joy growing up with it and watching it grow up with me. Seeing each character exit the show one after the other, seeing the writing evolve over the years, being so fun and creative, but at the same time fleshing the characters out as the show kept going, eventually reaching the final 4, then bombshelling a new 3rd season to get that same experience back, it was a journey. And so, what 2024 gave us in regards to it was the final 2 episodes of Season 3, and then, after 4 years, the return of Season 2 with its final 4 episodes. Just so we're clear, those Season 2 episodes take place after all of Season 3. You'd understand if you watched the show. When Season 3's finale came out, it was really cool to see II finally wrap up another season, and even have the winner be a rejoiner contestant. And it wrapping up only meant, just like MePhone, we could finally make that long-awaited return to Season 2. Episode 15 was a great return to the season's remaining contestants, and did a good job at furthering and testing not just them, but also MePhone, MePad, and Taco. And reaching the final 2 really made me think of how we've come a long way. My only real critique is I actually would have had it be 2 episodes, and have the first one end when Taco revealed herself, and spend more time with the contestants before the challenge, particularly Lightbulb, to give her some more spotlight and build up to her decision at the end of the challenge. But now that we reached the final 2, all we had left was the finals. Oh my god, the 3-part finale was incredible! So many character arcs, both big and small, coming together so satisfyingly, an actually well done twist that adds a whole new layer to the world of the show, and an ending with legit consequences, yet still extremely hopeful, with endless possibilities for the show's future. Season 2 of Inanimate Insanity finally concluding just felt so fulfilling to me. It really made the 11 years I've spent watching it really pay off. I legit don't know how to put more into words. Maybe I'll do a whole video dedicated to that show. There's honestly no team on the internet that I have more admiration towards for their dedication, creativity, and enthusiasm than the II crew. I'd probably have Batman Cape Crusader higher than you guys want. It is a lot more of the same of what you expect from Batman the Animated Series, but the good news is Batman the Animated Series is one of my all-time favorite shows, so this is a compliment here. A really nice return to form for an animated Batman series, as well as being a fresh take on the mythos. I really liked Harvey, Barbara, and Montoya. They managed to give Harley a new interesting take on the character. I liked overall seeing the mix of the well-known and lesser-known villains. Natalia Knight especially stood out to me and had easily the best episode of the season. I do wish a bit that some of the villains got to appear in a few more episodes. Like I said, I really liked Harley, and I actually would have liked to see her be in the season all throughout. Overall, I really enjoy the show, and I honestly recommend.
5.
I honestly liked Smiling Friends Season 2 a bit more than Season 1. It was very distinctly funny, off the wall, varied in animation styles used, and filled to the brim with instantly iconic side characters, just like Season 1. But this season kinda cranked all those up, and I had a blast with it. Smiling Friends is just one of those shows where you can put the characters in any situation and it'll get a laugh. Just for how unpredictable and creative the episodes are, combine that with how natural and down-to-earth Charlie and Pim are as characters. My two favorite episodes of the season would have to be the Gwimbly episode, and I think my favorite episode in the whole show right now, A Alan Adventure. Not only for it being an Alan-centered episode for a change, but for having probably the most insane plot with some of the most ambitious animation in the show. I really like that we got more Alan in this season in general. He's a really fun foil character. My only real critique is that we still haven't gotten much of Glep. I feel this season had even less of him because he didn't even have his own subplot like he did in the one episode in Season 1. I love this show, you love this show, and again, so cool to see YouTube animators rise up like this.
4.
It's so weird only talking about the second half of Invincible Season 2, you know, since they had the brilliant idea of doing that unnecessary hiatus for a few months, so ideally the season would have all come out in 2023. But you know what? This does at least mean this show can be on the list and I can talk about it. I will say the middle child syndrome was a bit felt with this season. Some arcs for some characters this season rather end early, particularly Eve, who just becomes unimportant in the final 2 episodes. This did have a bit to do with the events of Mark fighting Angstrom and the Guardians fighting the Sequids being switched around, so there's basically 2 season finales. I'll tell you what though, changing little details from the comics has always been one of the show's strong suits and painting them in a whole new light. Stuff like making Debbie a more interesting and fleshed out character, and Mark and Amber's relationship having more weight to it. Them talking separately about how they both feel guilty about the circumstances of their relationship was a really nice scene, and their breakup was genuinely really sad. And hey, Mark versus Angstrom in the final episode still went very hard, and does a great job of setting up Mark's character going forward. Season 3 is halfway done by the time I'm writing this, and that is already the better season, and will likely have a higher spot on next year's list. But this season is still great, and that just means I can only imagine how good the rest of the show will be.
Wow! It's number 3!
So, remember when I said I wouldn't put in anything that only put out a small portion of episodes that year? I lied, kinda. This is gonna be another tie, and I really debated with myself if putting them on the list would count, but I ultimately made the exception because I realized the opportunity in covering them on the same spot. So I'm dedicating this spot to the 3 episodes of Bluey and the 3 episodes of The Amazing Digital Circus. Just both these shows having only 3 episodes each that year was what got me to talk about them here, as despite them only having that much episodes, they still had very much left an impact. Episodes 2, 3, and 4 of Digital Circus were all excellent. We're halfway done with the show, and it's already so inventive, so funny, so endearing, so emotional, and it honestly may be the best animated internet series I've ever seen. Episode 2 really set the bar high for the show and already set up some big growth for Pomni. The episode easily could have ended on that gut punch, but gave us such a hopeful ending where Pomni realizes that despite being trapped, she's not alone. And episode 3 was the fan favorite for a reason. Pomni and Kinger's heart-to-heart was amazingly written, and it was so satisfying seeing Pomni braving through the adventure with Kinger. Episode 4 wasn't as good as the other 2, but it was still really great and nice to see Gangle as the focus for a change. Really cool to see the show now fleshing out the other characters. This show was amazing, and I'm excited for the rest. And then there's Bluey. Yeah, Ghost Basket and Surprise were both cute and funny, like the average Bluey episode, and we both had pretty great endings, but we all know the one in between you're here for. The Sign might debatably be the best episode in the whole show. I couldn't believe the hype around it when it was announced to be a half-hour episode, advertising it as the biggest episode yet. And you know what? It was. It was an emotional tour de force with so many details in previous episodes coming together here. It could have potentially been a series finale if it wanted to. It really makes you feel how far Joe Brumm and crew have come since 2018. Just a small Australian kids show becoming such a big hit when it hit America and managed to reach so many more people than its target audience. Something no one ever thought in decades a children's show would reach. It really was just that good. Despite Brumm being out of the picture at the moment, I can only hope the show's future will still be an inspiration as it always was.
2.
Listen guys, I love Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur a lot. I really admire it and y'all are sleeping on it. So only the first 14 episodes of Season 2 came out in 2024 that year, and rather insanely, Disney released all of them on Disney Plus on the same day. It really didn't help with waiting for the remaining episodes next year, and it's insane to see 14 episodes premiere on the same day. But whatever, Season 2A was still as good as ever. It's a visual eye candy, every character is lovable, it's super funny, it has a consistently great soundtrack, and it's not at all afraid of tackling deep themes and letting the emotions really sink in. Lunella to me is one of the most lovable and engaging main characters I've seen in a while, and I've always loved seeing her overcome her own flaws and challenges and learn life lessons, and I always love her interactions with Devil, Casey, her family, and even some of the other characters that I got introduced to this season. So much so that I honestly really would have liked to see more of them. This goes double for the completely finished episode Disney won't air that focused on Brooklyn and her state as a trans girl. That episode was so amazing, and it honestly would have been one of the top 5 best episodes of the whole show had it aired. And the final episode of The Batch is such a leave an impact on the show going forward episode that it honestly could have been the season finale. Maybe if Disney was better at managing their TV division, maybe it could have. But still, this show was amazing, and you guys are totally missing out on quality content if you haven't seen it. Moon Girl magic indeed. Yeah, of course it would be this one. X-Men 97 is the amazing revival no one was expecting. Like, not so amazing stuff nowadays is kind of Marvel's thing. Largely inconsistent quality is X-Men's thing, and then along comes this revival to the X-Men 90s cartoon and everyone loves it? It got everyone interested in X-Men again. It reminded us all of how interesting these characters are and how limitless this world is. I gotta be honest, writing for this segment might have been the hardest out of any of them because I couldn't possibly think of a way I could do it justice like plenty of other people already did. The art direction and action go hard, it's super effective and juicy as a drama, so many of the characters have a fun and interesting thing going on. Episode 5 is the best of the bunch? What else could I possibly say? It's X-Men 97, a prime example of how a team of writers and animators can still do interesting and new things with long-standing franchises in 2024. And I can only imagine what 2025 will offer next. I mean, I already have an idea so far of what 2025 is being like with animation so far because I'm recording this last part in May, so, yeah. I mean, see you next year with my next top 15.